In this political climate that we're in Canada, in this economic climate that we're in, with all these problems and controversies and issues that are facing our country, with all the reforming that needs to happen and needs to take place in Canada, and the Canadian government is in desperate need for some serious reforming. And I don't mean in terms of little tax cuts there. Cut your taxes. Cut, yeah. The conservatives. Cut the taxes. Cut some taxes. Your child care benefit. Just kind of dribbling foolishness, stale nonsense. I mean, big, huge, mighty reforming endeavors need and must take place within the Canadian government. We need to get rid of the CBC, privatize the CBC. We need to have a flat income tax. We need to have a taxation system which is supported by sales taxes and by tariffs which will punish companies that abandon our country and lay people off. That's what we need. We need immigration reform. We need to seal our border, our southern border. We need all sorts of things that need to happen in Canada, and the only people who can do that is the Conservatives or parties to the right. Now, having said that, the Conservative Party is in desperate need of reform of its own, because many people have asked me, and there was even an article out which said why the Liberals always seem to do well in Canada. And the simple answer is this: while the Liberals don't know anything about governing, they are incompetent. And even now when they have a leader who comes from the seed of the devil himself, he's the son of Satan, Justin the Longer and Mac Daddy Trudeau. With all of their problems, the one thing you can say about the Liberal is that they know how to unite. Now, many Liberals, and I've talked to many Liberals, and I know many Liberals, and I have many Liberal friends who are on the inside who are not happy with the Mac Daddy and who secretly want to get rid of him and want to get rid of him now. But one thing you will never see is the Liberal trying to form new parties or to backstab or to connive or to conspire against. You'll never see that. The Liberals won't do that. But I guarantee if it happened with the conservatives turn on each other like dogs in the night. It is disgraceful. It's saddened. I mean, we just all we know how to do is attack one another. I mean, it's almost like as if we're animals the way we treat each other. And I say that what needs to take place is that I don't say our because I'm not a registered conservative. I just go by what common sense tells me, and I say that supporting Maxime Bernier's new party is going to own, especially with me being in Ontario, it'd probably be a little different if I was in Alberta, where the Mac Daddy is going to be wiped out. He's going to be wiped out quickly. Every single one of those Liberal MPs in Calgary will probably be out of a job, and I just want to knock on wood when I say that too. But me supporting Maxime Bernier's party in Ontario and any Ontarian supporting that party when we know it's not going to win. It's not going to win. That is just giving a vote to Justin DeLongre and Mac Daddy Trudeau. So what I feel needs to be done is that the Conservatives need to reform the way they not only elect their leaders, but hang on to their leaders. And I'm saying, and I'm proposing, and if somebody wants to give this video to Andrew Scheer and see if he has the guts to trigger this, but once a leader is elected, once a conservative leader is elected, then every 2 years, if you want to say every year, but I say to make it safe, just to give the leader a little wiggle room, every 2 years, he is he has to go before the conservative constituents, his conservative constituency, the people who put him there in the first place. And every 2 years, there is a leadership vote or a referendum, if you will, on his performance. And if conservatives like what he's doing, they say that he's doing a good job, they can vote for him. And if they say he's not doing a good job, they can vote against him. And if he gets more votes against him than for him, then there has to be an automatic leadership election, and that current leader is forbidden to participate in that leadership election. That is something that I feel would go a long way to ensuring that there are more conservative governments in our future, because this whole splitting and forming new parties is not working, and it's never gonna work. It's never ever gonna work. You can dream that all you want. It's never gonna work. It won't. It just won't work. I don't know how much. I don't know if I have to say it to you in French. I don't know if I have to say it to you in Japanese. I don't know if I have to say it to you in Garifuna. It's not going to work. So, I mean, we have to get that out of our heads. This PPC, I'm telling you, it's not going to work. Now, the reason I put that in is that if the conservatives had that opportunity to put Andrew Scheer's feet to the fire and say, look, every 2 years, we know he's going to have a referendum on his leadership and we're going to vote for it. That will not only ensure that conservative membership remains strong, because people who are going to want to remain in the Conservative Party in order to participate in that referendum, but that will also ensure that there is no vote splitting, because people will probably be smart enough to know that if there is a referendum on a particular leader's leadership, there'll be no need to form any new party. Because if most of the people say that he's good, then there's nothing. Then we can make 10 new parties if we want. It's not going to work anyway. But if most of the people on the right say that he's bad, then we will have the opportunity to choose someone else, and then Maxime Bernier could run, and whoever could run, Lisa Ray could run, anybody, Pierre Poilievre could run, any of them could run, anybody could choose. If that's the kind of thing we had, if we had what I just suggested, there would be no second party like there is now. The Conservatives need to be the only right-leaning party in all of Canada. It has to be that way. It has to be the party that is solely the right. And when I say right, I don't just mean fiscal conservative, because we've had our fill of we've had our fill of low taxes. And I believe in low taxes. I love low taxes. Yay and amen. But when there's an election, it's like that's the safe space for conservatives. They don't want to talk about immigration. They don't want to talk about getting rid of privatizing the CBC. They don't want to talk about immigration reform and all that other stuff. And social issues. But when I say the base for conservative, I mean social conservative, libertarian conservative, populist conservative, fiscal conservative. It has to be. We can't just be blocking off into right, different right parties like the left is doing. Let the left do that. Let them form the Green Party and the NDP and the Liberals and all their other parties. Let them do that. But we have to unite, because honestly, the left, and this is just honesty, the left, they are better at uniting than we are. I mean, look at the elections passed in Canada. And this is just listen to me for a second. Don't get angry at me. Don't hate me. Don't unsubscribe to me. Just listen to me for a second. Open up your hard head for a second and listen to me. This is truth that I'm talking to you. In the early 60s, we had something called the Social Credit Party and the PCs. The Social Credit Party was almost, not quite like the PPC, but it was just another right party, grassroots party, angry with the PCs. They don't want to have anything to do with the PCs. And then the election of 1962, 1963, and 1965, if the Social Credits and the PCs were united, the PCs would have won those elections, and there would have been no Lester B. Pearson as prime minister. The election of 1972, if the Social Credit and the PCs were united, Pierre Trudeau would have been a one-term prime minister. Same thing with the 90s and the early 2000s with the Reform Party and the PCs. If those parties had been one, then Jean Chrétien would have, at the very least, have won with a very, very small minority. Now, the Reform Party, I can understand, because the PCs, they were there. Brian Mulroney, I mean, I'm not as much a big a hater of Brian Mulroney as many of people are. But regardless, you know, many people thought he had his turn. The PCs had their turn, and they were upset. The Liberals had their turn, and they were upset. So let's form a new party. But I say that if the Conservatives were the ones, the real Democratic Party, the ones who actually would give their supporters and members an opportunity to vote on the performance of their leader, every 2 years the leader has to face the members of the party in a referendum on his or her leadership, and if they like him, they vote yes. If they don't like him, they vote no, and whatever happens, happens. I think that's the best way. That would be a perfect way. That would ensure that membership stays up, nobody's leaving, and that would also ensure that there would be no more vote splitting, because, I mean, look, we're not talking about conservatives and libertarians here. I mean, libertarians and conservatives, you can argue that they are far removed. You can, no matter what you put in there, it's just a different movement. But the PPC, I mean, Maxime Bernier was a conservative, and his father was a conservative as well. So if you had done what I had suggested, what I am talking about now, Maxime Bernier wouldn't have had any reason to leave and form his new party, because he would understand that in 2 years, Andrew Scheer would have to face the members of his party in a referendum, and if he had lost, Maxime Bernier would have the opportunity to run for leader of the party, and if Andrew Scheer won, then Maxime would know that it wouldn't make any sense to form a new party, because most conservatives wouldn't support him in the first place. And, I mean, look at the party right now. Latest polls, I mean, PPC is in 0.1%. The highest they've gotten right so far is 1%. They're not going to win. And people get angry at me for saying that, but I'm not saying this because I'm trying to poo-poo Maxime Bernier. I'm saying this because the country is on life support. We have no time for these games, these splittings. We don't have to listen. Conservative men and women, y'all better listen to me. You all are going to reach the point where the long-haired Mac Daddy is going to be projected the winner, and he's going to win a second term, and he might win an even bigger term, maybe smaller, but you're going to see that if the PPC win 1 or 2 extra seats in the House of Commons that could have gone for the Conservatives, and it's vote splitting, and if those seats, it's determined, could have been the seats that determined the Conservatives either beat the Liberals or put them in a minority, y'all are going to be feeling pretty stupid and pretty bad. I'm telling you. So conservative Canadian, make up your mind. Share this video with conservatives in the party. Share this video with people who have some influence. Share this video with people who have the ear of Andrew Scheer. And let's reform the Conservative Party, and let us finally put in a system where we can elect and determine the job performance of Canadian Conservative leaders. This is the Arana Nation.